Hello, this is Brian Clements, and this is my week 3 discussion on TED delivery analysis. When I was about 13 years old, I began what I like to consider my career in the music industry by recording my own songs in my bedroom at my parents' house. Having no 4-track recorder or really any idea what a digital audio workstation was at that point, I instead took an old radio cassette player and an old cassette recorder my mother used in college and would bounce my tracks off of one onto the other, each time layering in more guitar and vocals to make bedroom pop songs about girls. I didn't let my limitations as to my means to record get in the way of the creative process. In her TED Talk, Julie Burstein speaks about embracing your limitations to further your creativity. She begins her talk by speaking of her own personal accounts in the way of raku, Japanese pottery. She grabs the audience attention by speaking of her love for raku and how it has enriched her daily life. She then challenges the audience to incorporate creativity to enrich their own daily lives. At one point, she unexpectedly takes a pot that she has made and holds it over a brick that's on stage and releases to exhibit the loss you must embrace. Well, what was also unexpected was the pot didn't break, and it actually turned out to be a pretty humorous situation and having the audience laugh. She's very stationary throughout her presentation, and her hands even move very little, except for when she gets excited about what she's talking about, and then they flourish. She has a very sincere and honest tone, and you get the notion that she really cares about what she's talking about. This stripped-down authenticity is a good example of what Phil Wachtel calls taking the armor off in his analysis of The Naked Presenter by Gar Reynolds that can be found at philpresents.wordpress.com. Nearly all of Nancy Duarte's star moments, as defined on page 148 of her instructional book, Resonate, are present in Burstein's TED Talk. She calls on an already memorable and dramatic experience that we can all relate to in the 9/11 tragedy, in speaking of the story of how her photographer friend reacts to it. She uses dialogue of her photographer friend's account and proceeds to also display images that he captured at the crash site. It proves to be a very emotive storytelling, and one that we can all remember, as most of us have our own sort of memories of the tragedy. What I found most amazing in her adherence to the TED commandments was she truly is herself on stage. Not only does she tell her own stories, but she also includes stories of her close colleagues and friends, which I feel like you really get to know her. Another thing I found impressive was, even though she is a best-selling author, not once does she mention her book during her presentation, and she never tries to sell the audience on it, which is another requirement for the TED Talks. Some things I can learn from her for my own Ignite presentation is, given that the subject matter for my presentation is a little scary, it's going to be a bit of a delicate situation to relate to my audience. So I can utilize the same way that she appeals to the audience through emotion and reaches out to their humanity to convey reason without coming across arrogant, but more assuring. Thank you.